Buenas tardes. It's a great pleasure to be here again for our fifth session of India and the Spanish-speaking diplomacy. As you know, we're having this conversation with diplomats in the time of the coronavirus. And we are proposing a series of webinars by diplomats from Spanish-speaking countries. I've been underlining again and again the importance of Spanish as a second language of international communication. And the aim is to know the background of diplomatic relations between India and the Hispanic world, the present state and the future expectations and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic it's having. I am very grateful to Mr. Álvaro Malmierca for accepting to be here today. It's a great honor for us that he makes himself accessible to the students and will be also taking questions from them. It's really a great pleasure. Uruguay, it's a very beautiful country in a cultural area of Latin America known as the Rio de la Plata. It has a very interesting culture related to the gauchos. And I will like to present now our ambassador, who is a senior diplomat from Uruguay with almost 40 years of experience as a career diplomat. He is doctor in diplomacy by the Faculty of Law and Social Science University of the Oriental Republic of Uruguay, and also graduate of the famous Instituto Artigas of Foreign Service. It's the diplomatic academy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Uruguay. As I said, he joined the diplomatic career in 1982, and he has many positions. I will just say a few of them. He was Secretary of an Embassy, Chargé of the Consular Section in Tel Aviv, Israel. He's been also Chief of Diplomatic Secretariat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Uruguay. He was also consul to the United States of America in the city of New York. He was also Vice Director of the Instituto Artigas, which I have already mentioned, which is such an important backbone of the diplomatic career in Uruguay, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. After, he was also Consul General to the Republic of South Africa in Cape Town, and he's been director for the European Region section in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He's been also Consul General to the Kingdom of Spain in Madrid. And while there in Madrid, he was elected as president of the Consular Corps and accredited in Madrid, and served in this capacity for 4 years as president of the Consular Corps in Spain. He was also Vice Director General of the Department of Cultural Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And since 2018, he is Ambassador of the Embassy of Uruguay in Delhi. But saying that much in the case of Ambassador Malmierca will be an incomplete, because he's a man of culture, and he is a poet and a playwright, and has an extensive career in the literary field with 10 published books and 8 theater plays. And he has received several recognitions, and part of his work has been translated into English, Chinese, and Greek. So it's a great honor, and we hope at the Cervantes, we can invite you once this pandemic is over and we are able to open our center, and we'd love to have you there, not in your capacity as ambassador, but in your capacity also as a playwright and as a poet, and sharing this beautiful language that is Spanish. So welcome. Thanks very much for joining us today. And as usual, we will start with our questions. And I would like to start, by pointing out how old are the diplomatic relations between India and Uruguay, and what is the present state of diplomatic relations between both countries? Ambassador?
Thank you, Mr. Director. Good evening to everybody. Please allow me first to express my gratitude to you and your team for this invitation. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. Also, a warm greeting to all who are following this transmission. Thank you very much for the presence. Answering your question, let me tell you that Uruguay and India have created a solid and close relationship for decades. Uruguay was one of the first states to join the process of recognition of India's independence. Diplomatic relations were established from that moment, but only some years later, Uruguay opened the embassy in Delhi, and India announced that the country would open an embassy in Montevideo soon. Now, with this situation that we are suffering, it's difficult to maintain many plans and deadlines that could have been established. However, we believe that India maintains its intention to open an embassy in Montevideo, since it would be in the interest of both parties and would be the logical consequence of the good evolution of our relations, and taking into account the interest expressed by India in Latin America in general.
Very good. One thing that people, I think they don't know much, is a special relation that Tata Consultancy Services has with Uruguay. And if I am not wrong, Carlos Ott Architects, an Uruguayan architectural firm, designed the Institute of Technology Park of Tata in Chennai, which is considered to be the largest software development center in the world. The project stands as an iconic development in the cyber corridor, distinct in the style, grandeur, and aesthetics. Can you elaborate on this project, which has the Uruguayan architect, and what Tata is doing in Uruguay? I think that's a milestone in the relation between both countries.
Yeah. I believe this is a virtuous equation. It should be noted that Tata has chosen Uruguay many years ago to install its operational center for South America. Is placed in Uruguay. Then Tata operates all the region, but from Uruguay.
So Uruguay is the center for the whole of Latin America.
Is the center, yes. Is the logistical and strategic center for Tata. Tata did so considering the country's political and social stability, that is a characteristic of Uruguay, the legal certainty, the country's strategic position, as you know, in the middle of the Mercosur, and also for the high standards of efficiency and excellence in services and standard of living. Indeed, Tata presence in Uruguay actually has been growing and expanding. I think it was logical and expected that when hearing great talents, Tata paid a particular attention and priority to the Uruguayan talent. In this sense, it should be noted that Uruguay has always stood out for the high level of its architecture, and throughout its history, has given many brilliant architects of great international prestige. Just to mention a few names, and the list could be very long, we could mention, by example, Mauricio Crabotto. Eladio Dieste developed a new architectural system that permits to construct these great structures as shopping centers and supermarkets without column in the middle. Julio Vilamajo is one of the 5 architects, the international architects that built the United Nations building in New York. Rafael Viñoli, maybe you know him. He's a very iconic architect that is also Uruguayan. He did some very prestigious buildings in Tokyo, in London. He was also one of the finalists for the project in the Ground Zero in Manhattan. Then there is an experience and there is very, very famous names. In this case, obviously, the Carlos Sot is also one of the most famous architects. He designed and built the building of l'Opéra de la Bastille in Paris.
Okay.
And many other iconic buildings around the world. Among these buildings, we must include, without a doubt, the building that you mentioned in Chennai. I think, yes, a plain coincidence with you, I think it is a fine example of construction at the service, in this case, of technology and research, but keeping in mind the beauty and harmony that every architectural work must have.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting, to know this angle of architecture in Uruguay and how it helps, and to know also that Tata has chosen a country like Uruguay, which I think is very famous for its social stability and lack of corruption and high standard, in human development. I think it's one of the countries in Latin America with the highest standard of human development, if I am not wrong.
Yeah.
Very, very.
There is, for example, a curiosity. Uruguay, Montevideo especially, has the most important, I don't know if defined as collection of buildings of Art Deco.
Okay, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
we have a lot of great projects
yes.
that are, yes, it's a beautiful city. Yes.
Yes, I heard. I didn't have the chance to go there, but I would like to share with my
yes, you must go.
My Indian friends, because I have many friends that even friends in Montevideo, and it is a really beautiful city, and full of history.
And for somebody that loves culture, would be a very nice experience also.
Okay. And let me take one question, because that's related to what we are just saying now, no? And he says that she's from Smita Sahey. She's a student of the Cervantes Institute. And she says, despite being ranked first in Latin America in terms of democracy, safety, press freedom, per capita income, and quality of life indices, why is Uruguay not better known by the Indian masses than its neighbors, Argentina and Brazil? What you will say about that?
Well, I think maybe it's a question of size. Uruguay is a small country between two giants. And especially our population is only 3.5 million people. Then it's a small country, not in territorial terms, but yes, in terms of inhabitants. But Uruguay is very known in the world. The question is maybe that the Indian people, if they have the curiosity to research about Uruguay, it's possible to enter in the internet and everything is there.
Good. Another question from the same person, no, which I think
Yes.
it's just, she says, Smita says, given Uruguay's history of military rule giving way to the greatest press freedom in Latin America, what can India learn from Uruguay and vice versa? What you will say about it? What lessons, you know, because you have that, there are common experience to be shared between both countries, in spite of the difference, you know, in size and population, but I think both are.
Yes, there is a big difference in these questions, but in fact, we have a very good relationship with India. We act together in some organisms in the world and with diverse schedules of items in the agenda, in the international agenda. We have a lot of coincidence. Then we have a very good relationship, and Uruguay is every country is a special country. Uruguay has determined characteristics, and one of them is stability, social, then the security of the law, and in terms of good life, good weather, everything is nice in Uruguay. It's not because it's my country.
No, we know. But Uruguay has this reputation. Really, that's really Punta del Este. Really. We have so many beautiful
places there. For this reason, our neighbors every year come to Uruguay for tourism and for visit. When the people from Buenos Aires wants to breathe some calm and peace, come to Montevideo. When we want some movement, we go to Buenos Aires. We are very close as in every aspect.
Yeah, you just cross that big river to go to Buenos Aires, I think, no?
It's very easy today because there is a boat that in 2 hours and a half, you are from Montevideo, from the center of Montevideo to the center of Buenos Aires.
To Buenos Aires. And yes. It's easy to cross the border, or there are a lot of controls, or it's more like...
No, well, no, in this right moment,
well, now, of course.
The borders are closed, but in normal terms, we are part of the Mercosur. We have an agreement with Argentina and Brazil from many years ago, but we are all part of the Mercosur. Then our passport said passport of Mercosur. And also, we don't need a passport to go to Argentina, to Paraguay, to Brazil. It's only with an ID.
Good. Since we are incidentally touching on the theme of tourism, I would like also to take the question of Anil Shankar, who is a chartered accountant and a student also of the Cervantes Institute, that he's asking, you know, what plans does Uruguay have to make Indian tourists visiting Latin America include Uruguay in their travel itinerary? And similarly, how can more tourists from Uruguay be attracted to India, given the distance and connectivity issues?
It's different. There exists a tourism from Uruguay to India. A few of people have a real interest in the Indian culture, in the to know all the heritage sites that are in India, and also the practice of the yoga that is now in the world, in the entire world. This attracts also many Uruguayans to India, then this part is okay. It's not a problem. The question is for Indian to include Uruguay as a part of when they made a tour in the region that include Brazil, maybe Argentina, and also in Paraguay there is some natural attraction. The question is to incorporate in the tour also Uruguay. Mm-hmm. In this regard, I would say that I don't know any Indian who has visited Uruguay and was not pleasantly surprised and eager to return. I think the Indians, like everyone in Uruguay, the natural beauties, the high level of life, gastronomy, the good taste in general, and even as you point, the sophistication that flow from places like Punta del Este. Punta del Este is considered one of the most important tourist centers
of the world,
visit by the elites of the entire world.
Yes, we know. A lot of Spaniards go there and famous,
yes, and we have a very good infrastructure in matter of tourism. But what most highlight the Indian visitors is the friendliness of the people, the courtesy, the good manners, how well everybody is treated and feels in Uruguay. And also attracts the attention of the Indian, the large open spaces, the low population density, the absence of a traffic jam in the urban traffic. Yes, it's something exotic for them because it's completely different. In Uruguay, you can go to the countryside and walk, and never found another person. It's logic because we have, I think we have the a density really ridiculous in quantity of inhabitants per kilometer. Well, the question of this statistic, I don't know exactly, but it's a very low density in matter of. But our the beauty of the natural beach, the countryside, the culture of the gaucho.
Yes.
All that is legendary.
Yes.
That we share that with other countries in the area. Obviously, yes. We share that with Argentina.
Brazil.
In the south of Brazil, they have the gaucho, but it's the same culture. We have the same habits and folkloric songs and. Then could be a very nice experience for Indian people to visit Uruguay.
Very well, Ambassador. Let me take, before moving to the next topic, I just want to take one question more because it's related to economy, and then we'll move towards the COVID, what's going on. But before doing that, I would like, this is from Avitosh Pal. He's an exporter importer based in Mumbai. And his question is that for what goods do you see a big export potential from India to Uruguay and vice versa? He's talking about import and export. For what goods do you see a big export potential from India to Uruguay and vice versa? Which kind of goods, can be exported and imported between
India sell to Uruguay medicines, medical supplies, sell fertilizants and other chemical products. it's a very important partner for us, India, in this kind of supplies. And Uruguay, we are working now we want to import here orange and citrical fruit in general. That we have a very good citrical production, and also wood, but the road wood, because we have now Uruguay developed a new industry with the plantations and with some forest for production of wood, and then we have an extra production, and we are selling that for the world, and it's really good. It's a pine and eucalyptus, but especially pine is a very good for India, and we are working in that. And another question is a mixture of. We would like to equilibrate the commerce, but sometimes it's not so clear. Sometimes the question is to buy when the product is better, and this product that Uruguay obtain from India are very good and a good price.
Very good. So let's move now to a question which is very, very important in these days, which is how are you dealing with the COVID-19 crisis? And what, if there are any scope for using this to intensify relations with India? How is the crisis?
About the situation in Uruguay until today, because I don't know tomorrow, this question is completely new for everybody, but Uruguay has become the exception in the red zone of the pandemic that is hitting up the American continent these days, from the north to the south, no? But the current balance in Uruguay is only 26 dead people, and today
that's very little, Ambassador. 26.
Yes, today we register some new cases. The people with the disease are 60 something today, and this is because there is an outbreak in the border with Brazil in some place. But this is content in this area. The rest of the country is almost free of the virus. I think the most important is to say about that is that the new government assumed the 1st of March and was surprised by the first case of coronavirus only 2 weeks after taking office.
Wow.
But the government take an immediately actions about the disease and close schools, shopping malls, suspend flights, close the borders, suspend religious services, sport and cultural shows. But economic activity was not interrupted. For example, the shops outside the shopping malls continue to function, as did the bars and restaurants, always observing measures to avoid contagion, and whenever the owner chose to remain open.
You didn't have a real lockdown like in India and many European countries.
No. The government recommend teleworking, which was adopted by the public sector and many companies. Wear face mask and keep the social distance. but people were able to go outside and into public places all the time to breathe fresh air as free and responsible citizens, taking the precautions of the case, and the result is very successful. At all times, the police were there to help the population and carry out with functions of the police, but never to repress. I think the Universal Healthcare Act quickly and developed a plan for with determined characteristic. We developed also a test that is very good.
Okay.
And well, 4 months later, everybody recognized that the new president has been consecrated as a real statement who beats the virus without imposing a mandatory quarantine. The president was right in treating society as a mature population that did not need to receive orders, if not listen to well-founded arguments. In this way, the president avoided the obligation of confinement and proposed it on a voluntary basis.
Wow,
The strength of his words convinced, and more than 90% of the population chose to stay at home the most time possible. We call this policy libertad responsable.
Wow, that's
responsible
nice.
freedom. Responsible freedom.
Yeah.
Our president said that he is not imprison people. It's not his function. And we respect very much our constitution, our rights, and this is the reality is the mutual trust has us controlling the virus. Well, this is the reality in this moment.
That's really outstanding.
Obviously, our major risk is the borders. Is the border, because we, as we talk before and entered in the conference, the border, especially the border with Brazil, is dry. Sometimes it's only a line in the floor. We are countries very integrated in the frontier area. Yeah. But well, for example, a good news: Iberia, the Spanish company, will fly again. The next July, on 5 July, reassume the commercial flights. Okay. Then we will have flight between Montevideo and Madrid. That is a very important connection for us and for Spain. That you know that we have a very important relationship with Spain as our la madre patria. And well, and this is the situation today. About India, fortunately, in this moment, Uruguay, with these positive results, Uruguay has not required external helps. But I wish to take this opportunity to thank India for having unlocked the export of certain strategic medical substances that Uruguay usually imports from here. I also want to warmly thank the Indian offer to donate an important package of medicine and medical supplies, which was also not necessary in this opportunity. But Uruguay greatly appreciates the gesture. It's a gesture of friendship, as well as the interest shown by the Minister of External Affairs of India, who especially called our minister to talk about this subject. Then it's a good opportunity to express this gratitude and recognize the gesture.
Very good. I think it's really outstanding, you know. I mean, and as you know, more and more people are considering that the way countries are dealing with the crisis of the COVID will shape very much their international image, you know, after the post-COVID, you know, because now
Yes.
countries are being measured by the way they tackle this new pandemic, which has caught us unawares, and that we are really don't know how to go out of it. No, well, I will move now, and I will go into another subject, because we often thought that Uruguay can be defined as a small country with great writers. And
Yes.
suffice to say the names of Mario Benedetti, Juan Carlos Onetti, Eduardo Galeano, which is very well known in India, and Horacio
Yes.
Quiroga, which I think has been translated to Indian languages. We have some books of him. What can you tell us about Uruguayan literature?
Well, as you say, we have a great tradition in matters of literature, and it's impossible to say something comprehensive of everything here in this moment, because I think that our literature begin in the when the 19th century begin with the independence war. In this moment appeared the figure of Bartolomé Hidalgo. He was the creator of the gaucho poetry, and together with other creators from Argentina and maybe Brazil and Paraguay, they create the gaucho culture. But if you think that this was in 1811, until today, when the Cervantes Prize is Ida Vitale, our dear poet Ida Vitale, that received the prize the last year.
Yes.
Your Carlos, your predecessor in the other director before you in the Institute, organized an act for in the same day that the prize is and when and he read the poem book from Ida Vitale, and in the same moment that she received the prize from the king in Madrid. Then in the middle, there are many a great experience about literature, as you know. You mentioned great names as Juan Carlos Onetti. Juan Carlos Onetti is maybe the other Cervantes Prize.
Yes.
And he is really big a writer, because he is maybe the father of a generation that after had a very big success in the Spanish world, but the first creator is Onetti. Vargas Llosa has a book about Onetti that is very nice, good book, and he recognized the importance that Onetti has in the literature, in the Hispanic literature. He create, for example, for example, about Macondo, the village that create the imagination of the very big Garcia Marquez, the Colombian, this universal Colombian. But before was Santa Maria. The first writer that create a completely invented city is Onetti. and Santa Maria that appear in the short. It's a novel, a small novel, a short story, La Vida Breve,
yes,
the
yes,
short
yes.
life, appear in this book and continue in the other books. It's a city that is a mixture between Montevideo and Buenos Aires,
Okay.
but has also some the pillars of the realism fantastic. That
Yes,
is
yes.
well, they other writers, Horacio Quiroga, Felisberto Hernández, they are considered between the most important writers of short stories. Italo Calvino put them between I think the 10 first with Edgar Allan Poe, for example.
Yes.
in this level, because they have some originality. They are so sui generis in the literature that they make, that they was a model for other writers. They construct a model for the literature, and also many. For example, Herrera y Reisig, our poet, was one of the pillars of the modernism. He maintained a close relationship with Rubén Darío, that he respect very much, and create these cenaclos and seminars. And Montevideo was a city very vibrant in matter of cultural activity. It's
Yes,
always,
I think it was visited also by Federico García Lorca, no?
yes,
That
yes,
was a very
yes,
famous episode
yes,
there, which
yes,
has been
very,
now
very famous.
killed by
Yes,
Santiago Romagliolo in his book, you know.
yeah,
I
exactly,
think,
exactly. Also, there is some legend about where is the body of Lorca. You know, there is a book that was presented in Madrid, in Casa de América, that established some theory, I don't know if it's real, that the real love of Garcia Lorca was an Uruguayan writer.
yes, yes.
I don't know, but and the legend said that when Lorca is assassinated in Spain, he goes to Spain and take the body and buried in Uruguay. There
Uruguay,
is
wow, that's very interesting. That's
I recommend find out the book. Maybe it's in the library in the institute.
Yes, I think that's El
very,
Amante Uruguayo by
El
Santiago
Amante Uruguayo.
Romagliolo.
Exactly,
But
exactly,
it is
exactly.
this Peruvian writer, actually, if I am not wrong, Santiago Roncagliolo,
Yes,
made a fascinating story there. Yeah,
yes,
I
yes.
would advise our students
And
to
another curiosity, the place of this Uruguayan writer, he was not so famous for his book for books or nothing, but he was a very important personality in this moment in the world, and he was very close friend of Borges, of Jorge Luis Borges. And many of the most important storytelling of Borges was writing in the house of this, I don't remember the name, in Salto. In Salto is Borges always said the Salto Oriental.
Salto
Because
Oriental.
the Salto Oriental, because the Salto is in the two parts of the coast. But this house was in the Uruguayan part, and Borges liked very much this play. Was very inspirational for him.
All right.
Many
Well,
a few
please,
a few characters of the works of Borges are Uruguayan.
yeah, I know. Even the locations of some of his tales are in
Yes,
Uruguay. I know.
yes, yes,
He,
yes, yes.
the presence of Borges in Uruguay, it's quite.
And well, and now you have, for example, this history continue. I could say you a lot of names, very important writers in the world that are Uruguayans. In this moment, for example, in Spain, you have Carmen Posadas,
Yes.
Cristina Peri Rossi.
Oh yes, Cristina
Yes,
Peri Rossi. Yeah.
yes, there are many. They are two bestsellers at this moment, and obviously Benedetti continue being
Yes.
a bestseller. Galliano also,
Juliana
and
also, yeah.
obviously the personality of José Enrique Rodó is a great.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we
Yes.
have time, we will come to him. But time is pressing, and we could talk about literature. And I want again, to take the opportunity because that's very important for our webinar to give voice to our students. So, and this is a question from Megna. She's a Spanish instructor at Manipal, so in the Northeast. And she will asking you, well, there's three questions. First is that according to sources in 2011, in honor of Rabindranath Tagore, stamp was introduced. How is Tagore known in Uruguay?
Well, I don't know exactly this travel that did Tagore by the region. He was
He was in
Argentina.
Argentina, we know that.
In Argentina, Uruguay, he visited many places, but he was, I think he was ill, and Victoria Ocampo,
Yes.
the famous Argentinian writer, offered him her house in Buenos Aires, in the no in the city. She had a place out of the city, but in Buenos Aires, and the poet was in the region. Yes, it's exactly. But I don't know when he was in Uruguay. Maybe he was only for some hours. You can cross the river. In Buenos Aires is exactly in front to a city called Colonia of Sacramento.
Sacramento,
That is, yes, this is a place declared by UNESCO as a World Heritage.
Yes,
it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
One of all the settlements.
It's an example. It's the best example of Portuguese colonial style.
Yes.
But the relation between Buenos Aires and Colonia, because they are very close. When you are in the coast of Colonia, you can see the light of Buenos Aires. Then it's very usual that the people with yachts, for example, go and come back during the day to the coast, the Uruguayan coast, to the Argentinian coast. In this area, everything is confused. But maybe Tagore went to Uruguay in a visit and come back to Argentina. But he is very. I can say that Tagore is very well considered in Uruguay.
Good.
He's an iconic personality.
So just another question from Megna, which is informing who is telling, and I have two questions which are related, and I will pass both of them now before moving. although time is flying very fast, actually. But Megna is also asking you if you would consider writing something on India as a writer, and a playwright.
Well, I'm not. It's a pen and a signature for me to know the Indian literature. I am very
You feel like writing
immersed.
something on your experience in India? That's what she's asking. Sometimes a
No,
writer
yes.
speaks from distance,
Well,
no? For writing.
in fact, the question is that as a writer, actually, I am writing something about India. I have something for theater and maybe a novel. I have a novel.
That's interesting.
Yes. Then India impact to me very much, but I think I need to know Indian literature, not only Tagore, but contemporary writers.
Well, I'm sure you know
the right moment. Yes.
I'm sure you know the Indian writers in writing in English, no? There is, as you know.
Yes. Well, this is the other question. I like to read fiction in Spanish. I am very immersed in our language. I like very much to read.
Well, that's a problem with all of us. Eh? we like to
for me normally English for me is a working language.
But Ambassador, we got very good translations from Indian writing into Spanish.
Yes,
no.
I need to
houses in Spain and Latin America, no.
Yes, I confess that I need to be an upgrade in this question.
Okay.
I need to be in touch with this.
So I hope you find time to read some Indian literature, even in Spanish. There are many things translated of the major writers. And then you have also, but that only mostly English translation. Some Spanish translation also in the great classic like Prem Chand, which is the Horacio Quiroga of India.
Mm-hmm.
He is the and you have things translated into Spanish from him,
Yes, we organized this because in the year 17 was the centenary of the first edition of Cuentos de la Selva.
Yes.
and some translator from India did the translation to Hindi.
Yes, yes, we have that book
from the Spanish to Hindi.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I know that.
And yes, and now we are in the to studying or planning the possibility to translate Ariel. Maybe.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll come to Ariel now. But before going to Ariel, because I don't think if many people know about Ariel in India, just one last question from Lakshay Sharma, immigration assistant and diplomatic mission here in Delhi, which is a personal question, but I think you can answer it shortly. And it says, please tell us about your literary pieces. What do you write about?
I write especially theater, yes. I have poetry also. And the last year I published a novel also.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you say the title of it?
The title is
even in Spanish,
la partícula D, the D particle.
Wow. Okay.
La partícula D.
Okay.
Is in Amazon, but it's in Spanish only. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
it's about Amazonia.
yeah.
It's in the
No, it's in
jungle.
Amazon in the,
Oh,
in
sorry,
the
sorry. Yeah,
system.
sorry.
You can order the book.
Okay, okay.
No.
Particularly.
No, the action of the book is in fundamentally in New York, occurring in New York. Yes.
Good.
It's
We are with very little time, but I would like you mentioned, you just mentioned about Ariel. I don't know if many
yes.
Indian friends know that Ariel of José Enrique Rodó, it was a major essay, with a lot of influence, questions
Yes.
about modernity and the present time. And can you tell us a little bit about that important piece of work, which is Ariel for Latin America in general? If it is
Well,
still
in 3 years ago, in 2017, we remember the centenary of the master death. For this purpose, our parliament create a commission confirmed by legislator, the Rodonia Society, that is very important in Uruguay, a representative of many ministries, local governments, educational centers, and representative of other institutions concerned. I had the honor of joining the commission on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I had to coordinate the activity with our embassies and consulates abroad. It was a very intense activity, but very rewarding. The committee organized an extensive tribute program throughout the Republic. But what most pleasantly surprised us was the echo and the dimension that the reminder had across borders. Suddenly, we understood that Rodó and his talk are also alive throughout the world, particularly, obviously, in the Ibero-American world, but in the world, in the entire world. It was something really exciting to discover that beyond all the changes that surprise us every day, Rodó's thinking is still alive and continues to be a source of inspiration for many. About Ariel, well, Ariel was the moral credo of Rodó, no? Is considered his masterpiece. Concerned with patterns of human life and with both personal and political conduct, Rodó maintained that individual self-scrutiny is the basis for enlightened action for the good of all. Prospero is a character, the teacher in Ariel, a venerable teacher.
It's based on the Tempest of Shakespeare somehow, no?
Yeah. He cautioned his young listener not to be impressed by material triumph, but to use their own spiritual, moral, and intellectual resource to strive for a well-rounded life. This essay, which launched Rodó international recognition, is until today considered one of the most influential works of philosophy written in Spanish America. Has been called by one critic the ethical gospel of the Spanish-speaking world. The Rodó's motto was reformarse es vivir. To reform oneself is to live. And his devotion to the people of America and our cultural heritage from Europe, received principally through Spain and Portugal, and from the Native American communities, make up a transcendent and humanistic vision of existence, maintains full validity in these days.
No. That's really interesting.
Yes.
And I think it's very important for the Indian people to know more about this extraordinary book. Mm-hmm. I hope sometime you translate it into Hindi. That will be a great contribution.
I think yes. You know that Ariel continued to be a book of text in a few American universities, for example.
Wow, that's
in Harvard, in very important universities, is a text of reference.
I think that's and it's a need of the hour, because in this time of technology, to underline, you know, the values of a book like Ariel.
The impact of Rodin in face to the materialism was very, very important. And for example, in Mexico, the movie prize that is equivalent to the Oscar, no? In United States, is called Ariel.
Okay, I didn't. Okay.
And is the homage of the book of Rodin. Okay. This is the reason to call Ariel. Yes. For example, one of the example there are many schools, streets, squares in every city in Latin America that has the name of Rodin, and the Rodonian society is alive. Is a very important community. It has correspondents in many places of the world.
Yeah, that's very good. So much, and I would like to underline, you know, the importance of José Enrique Rodin, this Uruguayan writer and essayist. Ambassador, we must be, time is pressing, so I will perhaps give for 2 questions more to answer very quickly. Of course, we have a lot of questions from several students from Amity University, you know, we have the Esplanade, we have Critica, and it's more or less all the same question. I don't know if you can answer very, very briefly, you know, but they are asking, you know, if there are exchange programs or remote learning programs between India and Uruguay. Of course, that's a question that interests Indian students, no possibility of going there, or what kind of exchange programs can be between both countries.
Well, we don't have a special program, but I think would be a very good experience, especially for people that study Spanish. It's a very good experience because it's a nice country and offer a good level of education, and it's an opportunity to know a style of Spanish. We are Spanish speaking, but we know that the Rio de la Plata has a special
kind of Spanish
characteristic, and it's one of the good things that have our language, because in every region develops some characteristics. I think it could be a very good experience. Maybe there is a question to explore with some universities in Uruguay to create these possibilities to interchange. I was working in this area, but nothing is concrete until now. But we continue to work.
Okay, with that. Let's hope that something materializes, you know, because as you know, there is no better way of establishing good diplomatic
relationships. It would be a very good experience for
students that become ambassadors of Uruguay when they come back to India in themselves, no? And just to finish, and very shortly, because I have this question also from several people. Well, what is the image of India in Uruguay? I mean, what is the interest for Indian culture in Uruguay? Yoga?
Yoga is one of the most important issues that always India for Uruguay. Uruguay is part of the Western culture, you know, because conformation is is atypical in Latin America. It's most European conformation. Where the population in Uruguay in general came from Europe. We have some original population, but it's not like another countries in Latin America. Unfortunately, because we don't have this patrimony. But then we see India as something distant, mysterious, a place with an ancient culture, and we respect very much this image of saviors and gurus, and this obviously the teaching of yoga has a great influence. And also the Indian gastronomy. This is because all this variety of ingredients, condiments, flavors is another great attraction. And also the places in India that is very important. The World Heritage sites in India, that there is a lot of places from north to south, to the mountain, to the beach, to everything in India is very, very interesting. Then I think it's always a country that the Uruguayan wants to know.
So thanks very much. It's been really a pleasure to share, this time with you, and I'm sure the students are really. We all feel like now, taking a plane and going to Uruguay. We are really, you're really lucky enough, the desire to visit that wonderful country there. Thanks very much for your time, and I hope to have you one day at the Cervantes, also in your.
I would like to take this opportunity to express the big importance that the Spanish-speaking countries, and Uruguay in particular, assigned to the magnificent work carried out by the Instituto Cervantes throughout the world, as a diffuser of our language and our culture. Here in India, also, you always offer your facilities for us to organize events. This is very appreciated. And you have a very large number of students today. And also you offer the services of the library that is very complete. Well, and also it's an honor for me to talk with you, because you personally is a very important person, with not only as a founder of this headquarters, but also you are an academic, you are a scholar, the author of many books also. And for me it's very, your last book, the dictionary Spanish-Hindi, is a very important word. Then congratulations, and thank you very much again for this invitation. With a great pleasure for me. And
thanks to you. I just close with a commentary by one of the listeners. They say, as a last comment, I would like to say that we feel more appreciative of our own country through your perspective. So that's a very nice comment. And thank you very much. We are. I just would like to invite all of you, to attend on 2nd July. Will be our closing session of this webinar, India and the Spanish diplomacy with Peru. Thank you very much, Ambassador. It's been really.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Hasta luego.
Thank you very much.
Hasta la vista.
Thank you very much.